It's an ugly spat in the VVIP Lok Sabha constituency of Amethi. Priyanka Gandhi's secretary, Preeti Sahay, has been asked to leave Amethi. The district administration decided to send Priyanka's secretary packing after a complaint by BJP candidate from Amethi, Smriti Irani. Earlier, a war of words between Priyanka Gandhi and Smriti Irani had escalated into an open verbal duel. Smriti, the BJP's candidate from the constituency, has engaged in a very public and heated exchange with Priyanka Gandhi's secretary, Preeti Sahay. The angry exchanges took place in Thori near a polling booth. Priyanka's secretary apparently objected to Smriti Irani's presence in the vicinity of the booth. Smriti later tweeted that Preeti Sahay, despite being an outsider, was vocal against her presence at the polling booth. Priyanka in the past has described Smriti Irani as an outsider who never nurses her constituencies. And my colleague Preeti Chaudhary is in Amethi. She spoke to Smriti Irani just a short while ago. Take a look.
We have Smriti Irani with us, who is alleging that there's been massive foul play when it comes to the constituency of Amethi. Smriti, you've been going booth to booth since the morning. What have you seen?
I have seen nothing but chaos at many of booths where the Congress people are trying to spread money around to buy votes. They are trying to intimidate voters and BJP Karyakartas. It is unfortunate that this is the constituency that the Congress family said that they are bestowing love upon, and love cannot be bought with money. And what is interesting is that if they were so sure of Rahul Gandhi's victory, why is it that they are compelled to capture booth or intimidate voters?
Smriti, you had a direct confrontation with Priyanka's PA, Preeti Sahay. You tweeted about that as well. Can you tell us exactly what happened? Because did she have an identity on her? She's been asked to leave, that's what we know.
Yes, there's a polling station called Thori, booth number 210 to 111. It's surprising. I told the election observer that the booth exists 30 meters away from the residence of the Pradesh Congress General Secretary. In fact, it's within the educational complex of the Congress State General Secretary. I had heard that the Congress General Secretary of the state was telling people how to vote and who to vote for, which is illegal and not as mandated by the EC guidelines. I had gone to request the cops there and tell the gentleman concerned not to do this kind of an intimidation. After some time, this gentleman calls Mrs. Vadra's secretary, who comes and tells me to leave, though I'm the candidate and I had every right to be there. And what is surprising is that I kept telling the cops that under what authority is she here, because the administration had clearly said that people who are not local residents were to leave the constituency on the 5th. So under what authority was Mrs. Vadra's secretary standing in a booth that too, talking to EC officials and cops, post which the cops refused to check her authorization. So it's very evident that local police is in cahoots with the Congress First family just to ensure that Rahul stays in power. Now the question arises that if Rahul had been a competent enough leader, people would have voted for him automatically or naturally. The very fact that he's compelled to capture booths, the very fact that he's compelled to distort the law and to practice illegal means of getting votes just signifies that if democracy was genuinely given space to breathe in this constituency, Rahul Gandhi would have lost by a huge margin. So this desperation that the Congress party is showing shows them not only losing at the national level but also in Amethi.
Smriti, Preeti being asked to leave by the DM, do you think it's a knee-jerk reaction?
No, my question is, why was she allowed to be here in the first place after every so-called not local resident was asked to leave? So under what authority, and why is it that after, as a candidate, I kept requesting the police there to check papers whether she is allowed to be, forget being in the constituency, but at the booth trying to get together congressmen so that I can be intimidated. So the police refused to check.
Appreciate you joining us. Smriti, you're going to go across to other booths at this point of time? All right, thank you. Thank you. There you have it, Smriti Irani saying massive foul play when it comes down to the Congress, talking about Preeti Sahay, the secretary of Priyanka Gandhi, on how she was caught inside a booth without proper identification. Preeti Sahay, in turn, has been asked by the district magistrate to leave Amethi. We'll keep getting you the very latest. Smriti Irani there, making the rounds, going across to various booths. Reporting with camera person Prem Chand Mishra, Preeti Chaudhary in Amethi for Headlines Today.
I want to go across to my colleague Pierre Fitter, who's got his hands on, what's happening on social media at this point of time. He's at the info center. Pierre, a very, very juicy sort of war of words breaking out there in Amethi. Obviously, the armies are stacked up online as well over what's happening there.
Completely. Rishabh, you know, I want to get you to those tweets that are coming in as reactions a little later. I want to take viewers through this series of tweets that Smriti Irani has put out since last night, alleging some form of intimidation, some form of rigging of some sort. We of course start with what happened this morning. In fact, 11:30 is when Smriti Irani put out this photograph. This shows Preeti Sahay at the Thori polling station. She is Priyanka's secretary. Just after this is when you have that major argument between Preeti Sahay and Smriti Irani about what either of them was doing there. Now this isn't the start of Smriti Irani's complaint, Shiv. We want to go back in time a bit. This photograph came up just a few minutes before that argument between them. In this, Smriti Irani says, to reach polling booth number 210 and 211, you need to pass the home of Congress Sahay, which is 30 meters away from the booth. So this is what she was referring to in a conversation with Preeti Chaudhary just a few minutes ago, that this is what you have to go through to get to that polling booth. And then she shows this particular photograph of the Congress Mahashiv of Uttar Pradesh, who she says was intimidating all BJP workers in that area. We go back to that tweet last night where she says, we want to wait for the police to respond. Congress workers are threatening BJP workers. I'm compelled to tweet this because everyone's phone seems to be off. Back to you, Shiv.
It's a lot of angry things being said online about what's happening in Amethi. I want to bring in Preeti Chaudhary, who's in Amethi, got us an exclusive conversation with Smriti Irani. This fight, Preeti, all of it happening on camera. That's the interesting part here. What's the very latest? You know, the authorities have stepped in. It's become an insider-outsider spat. You were right there in the middle of it. What's the latest?
You know, Shiv, if I could say it, you know, Amethi is on steroids this political season, especially today with all that's going on. You know, the minute this incident occurred, now it occurred in a particular booth that spat took place, and right after that, it's not just the BJP and the Congress, the Aam Aadmi Party is jumped into, because let's remind our viewers, it was only yesterday where Kumar Vishwas went out and said that why are we being asked to leave? My wife does absolutely nothing. She's going to be sitting at home. Why is she being asked to leave? Why is she being treated as an outsider? So the minute this incident occurred, it of course gave a stick to Aam Aadmi Party to beat the Congress on, because now they are saying, how is it that Priyanka Gandhi's secretary is allowed to sit inside a booth when she has no identification, and 2 nights before Amethi goes to poll, my wife, my sisters, the other cadres of Aam Aadmi Party are asked to leave overnight. Isn't this partiality, isn't this double standard? Something which was also of course echoed by Smriti Irani, who went on to say that it's not just that Preeti Sahay, Priyanka's secretary, was in a booth. She's also alleged that there was money being distributed. Of course, that's not been confirmed by anyone as yet. Smriti Irani alleges that. But we, of course, Shiv, are getting our viewers the very latest. It's, you know, just a few hours left. Just about, I reckon, it's 3:30, 6 o'clock is when polling ends here. But if you look at what's going on the sidelines,
it's really personal, and like you said, Preeti, those allegations coming out are unsparing. I mean, there's absolutely no you know, sort of upper limit to the kinds of allegations that are being put out there, and very specifically as well. I want to get in Deputy Editor Ashar Khan, who's at the Congress headquarters in Delhi. This is uncomfortable, Ashar. What's happening there? It isn't just, you know, to do with Priyanka Gandhi, who's become very, you know, high profile in this leg of the election, but her secretary, her personal assistant, Preeti Sahay, who's also gotten, you know, caught in this crossfire. How's the Congress looking at what's happening there?
Well, just about half an hour back, a news conference of the Congress party ended, in which Shashi Tharoor, who was the official spokesperson of the Congress, said that these are desperate and amusing measures by the BJP. Now, what the Congress is saying is that in that polling booth in Jagdishpur, Smriti Irani went there with about 4 cars, and which is not allowed. So, to complain to that, Preeti Sahay went there to meet the sector magistrate who was there in those booths, and where Smriti Irani was also there. The Congress also alleges that what was Smriti Irani doing in a particular booth for about an hour So
yes,
that's an allegation and a counter allegation which is constantly going on. But yes, we've seen that in the last couple of weeks or so, with Kumar Vishwas of the Aam Aadmi Party and Smriti Irani of the BJP, there has been a lot of activity which is going on in Amethi, usually where elections pass off peacefully. So clearly with new candidates there and with high profile constituency, all this was but expected. But yes, as Preeti rightly puts it, that in the last couple of days Amethi has been on steroids.
It's been on steroids completely. This is a constituency where things are resolutely personal. You know, Preeti, this is not just any constituency. Not only is it a VVIP constituency, but this is a place where the Gandhis are there physically. They're still there. And, you know, this is a place where, you know, no compromise can be reached. And in many ways, it's really rare to see what's going on in Amethi. You know, like you put it, it's on steroids, Preeti, this time, because, you know, there appear to be no limits to what even the Gandhis are willing to do to, you know, highlight how important this fight is.
You know, Shiv, the gloves are off, and you can see that. That we witnessed just about a week back when Priyanka Gandhi was there, because it was back and forth between her and Narendra Modi. It was back and forth between her and Smriti Irani, where she went on camera and said, Smriti, who? Of course,
yes,
that retort was given when Narendra Modi spoke about her in that particular rally, which he addressed right here in Amethi. But everything has changed, Shiv. It's turned on its head. 28 years, that is the association of the Gandhis, where this constituency is concerned.
Yes.
Sanjay Gandhi won it in the 80s. Rajiv Gandhi's won it 4 times over. Sonia Gandhi's won it. And then, of course, since 2004 is Rahul Gandhi. The very fact that since 2004, Rahul Gandhi for the first time is in Amethi on polling day says enough, Shiv.
It says a lot. Ashar and Preeti, just stay with me for a moment. We spoke to the district magistrate of Amethi a short while ago, Jagat Raj. Here's what he told us.
देखिए मैडम, इसका ऐसा है कि वो क्योंकि यहाँ के वोटर नहीं है, तो मुझे करीब 12 बजे के आसपास जानकारी हुई कि अमेठी में है, इसलिए मैंने ये निर्देश दिया कि वो अमेठी को जो है छोड़ दें, और उन्होंने अमेठी छोड़ दिया। यहाँ भी हमें कोई कंप्लेंट मिलती है, हम तुरंत अटेंड कराते हैं, अटेंड करा करके उसमें जो भी कार्रवाई सूचित कार्रवाई कराते हैं। और हम आपको देखिए जानकारी दे दें कि जितनी भी जगह कंप्लेंट हुई है कि बूथ कैप्चरिंग हो रही, गड़बड़ी हो रही, हर जगह हमने अपने मजिस्ट्रेट को भेजा है, पुलिस अधिकारी को भेजा है, उन लोगों ने जाके जांच किया है। हर जगह कंप्लेंट गलत पाई गई है, कहीं कोई बूथ कैप्चरिंग नहीं है, कहीं कोई गड़बड़ी नहीं है, हर जगह बहुत अच्छे ढंग से चुनाव हो रहा है। और हमने पूरी रिपोर्ट भेजा है, और हमने जो भी रिपोर्ट भेजा है वो मतलब किसी न किसी एविडेंस पर है। हमारे मजिस्ट्रेट गए हैं, हमारे अधिकारी गए हैं, और जा करके उन्होंने जो है वहाँ पे जाँच किया है, जाँच करके ये पाया है कि जो भी शिकायत है। रीजन देखिए ये है कि इस समय अमेठी में केवल अमेठी का ही वोटर रह सकता है, क्योंकि वो अमेठी की वोटर नहीं है, और मुझे जानकारी मिली कि वो अमेठी में है, इसलिए मैंने आदेश किया कि वो अमेठी से बाहर जाए, और कोई रीजन नहीं। हमने स्टेप लिया है। देखिए, जैसे जहां तक इनकी सोमनाथ भारती की बात है, इनसे भी हमने रिक्वेस्ट किया था, और पहले दिन जब हमारा चुनाव प्रचार बंद हो गया था तो इनके यहाँ करीब 45 लोग थे, कुमार विश्वास जी के यहाँ, और हम लोग बार बार रिक्वेस्ट करते रहे कि आप लोग जो है यहाँ नहीं रह सकते हैं, आप लोग जाइए, क्योंकि वोटर नहीं है। वो लोग हमारी बात सुनने को तैयार नहीं थे। जब सुनने को तैयार नहीं थे तो हमें जो है वो एक्शन लेना पड़ा कि आप लोग खाली करिए। अंत में वो लोग एग्री हुए, बाद में उन्होंने खाली किया। और जहां तक इनकी बात है तो इनको जो है जैसे हमने कहा कि आप यहाँ के वोटर नहीं, आप अमेठी छोड़िए, तुरंत छोड़ के चली गई। जैसे ही जानकारी मिली मैंने तुरंत कहा कि वो जिला खाली करते, तुरंत मैंने कहा। उसमें मेरी तरफ से आदेश करने में कोई टाइम नहीं लगा।
Well, this is a fight that's also precipitated, obviously, online as well. Pierre, what sorts of trends are you seeing online? Once this series of photographs came out, it takes the littlest of triggers, you know, to get people really, really charged up on social media and the internet. What sorts of trends are you actually seeing based on what's happening in Amethi?
You know, it's very interesting, Shiv. I mean, when you look at what's happening online and you compare it to the generic anti-incumbency wave that seems to be going against the Congress, you of course have a lot of BJP fans who say they're very proud of what Smriti Irani did. Shilpi Tiwari is a known BJP supporter on Twitter. She says it clearly shows the officer at the booth level only trying to stop Smriti Irani from objecting to the presence of Ms. Vadra's personal assistant. Preeti Gandhi, another BJP supporter, says hats off to Smriti Irani for facing down the Congress, the Congoons, she says in her words. She's played an extremely important role. Anamika, another supporter, says she's very proud of her. We are with you. She also complains about the policeman. Remember, there are complaints that the policeman did not cooperate with Smriti Irani. She said that when she was speaking to Preeti Chaudhary as well. Rohitesh Datta says, I was never a fan of Smriti Irani's TV serials, but you have to admire her level of her level-headed insistence here. And finally, Sunil Jha, a reporter says, Priyanka Secretary Preeti Sahay moves out of Amethi after the complaint from Smriti Irani. But what about the policeman? That question keeps coming back up. And we spoke to the district magistrate as well when Richika was talking to him. She asked him, was the policeman complicit in this? Because he didn't seem to be cooperating.
Yes.
And he said, well, we reacted to it as soon as we heard.
All right, so they did react to it as soon as they heard is what they are saying. I want to go straight back to Preeti right now. Preeti, what's the current situation right now? You know, this is, you know, like you said, just a few hours to go before, you know, before polling actually ends. Are things still pretty volatile there? Because, I mean, this is a place where you've got a lot of Congress supporters, you know, emotions running high, you know, this whole template of outsider, insider stuff. You've got the Aam Aadmi Party also in the mix. Is it still a volatile situation?
Well, you're bang on, Shiv. You know, it's interesting because till 2009, Amethi had seen the most peaceful elections because it was never what it is right now. Since the morning, you know, what we've witnessed over the last 2-3 weeks, today was the climax. Things reached their crescendo and it's running as we speak. Even while I'm standing here, you know, we are getting news of people getting into clashes, cadres beating each other up. It's on the edge, Shiv, and it is going to remain so till 6 p.m. Where the leaders are concerned, let me tell you, Smriti Irani, you know, we were lucky to catch her. She's been zipping across over 200 booths, over 200 kilometers, going from one booth to the other. Kumar Vishwas is doing the same. He's been doing it from 5 a.m. in the morning. Rahul Gandhi is also here. So the last final few hours, and of course, the fate of the three, we'll only know when that last vote is counted on May 16th.
It doesn't get more interesting than this. A high-profile constituency and all the stops really being pulled out over what can really happen. Ashar and Preeti, thanks for joining me on this particular segment.